Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. Back to the Sacred Sites Tarot by Lo Scarabeo. Um, so I had more difficulty finding anything of substance on some of the items here in the sites in the water suit. So this is going to be I'm going to go through the whole suit of water, whereas I was taking the majors kind of a few at a time. But I just don't see the need to do that with this particular suit. We'll see how the rest of them go. Um, so the suit of water, there's a lot of islands or land masses or rivers, so it does focus on that. Probably the only, once we get into the quartz, that is kind of dropped actually. Now that I think about it, now that I look at that. But for the 1 through 10s, yeah, there a lot of them are islands or feature water. So the first one, I guess I can leave it down here. That's why I focused in. Hopefully you can see it. So this is Mount Fuji. And let me get out the little guidebook and I will read a little bit from the guidebook. One of the weird things that I discovered is that at the somewhere around the base of Mount Fuji, there's a forest that's a national park, and people commit suicide there. Like it's a thing to go there to commit suicide. So very, very creepy, and obviously extremely unfortunate for everybody, whether the people, the number of people feeling the need to commit suicide, and then the people who would otherwise choose to enjoy the park being interrupted in that enjoyment because they don't want to come across somebody who has committed suicide. So it says, I'm in the wrong section. It's not English. Where does it go? Here we go. The very symbol of this nation, it is considered so sacred that Japanese people believe it is their duty to go there on a pilgrimage at least once in their lives. And of course, the water associated, not to mention the fact that it is kind of, it's got a hole in the top, so it's like a cup, and then there's the snow melt that creates water, but there's a big lake down at the base of it. And so, of course, you see lots of beautiful photographs with Mount Fuji reflected in the lake. So there's the water association. We're going to move that over. This, I will bring this up a little closer. You see there's the rope that connects those two rocks. I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Myoto Iwa. And that is also in Japan. Rocky reefs that are sacred to the Shintoist. I think it would just be I think we would just say Shinto religion. They represent the two Japanese divinities of creation, Izanagi and Izanami. In general, it is the union between a man and a woman. So this is supposed to represent the man, and this is the woman. And that rope is, I don't know how many, if it's multiple tons or a ton. It's extremely heavy, and it has to be replaced a couple of times, or I don't know, more than a couple of times, I think I read, a year. And it's always very ceremonial when they do so. And to me, that renewal of that big heavy rope like that is adds a dimension, because that's devotion. That's continuous devotion to that. This is supposed to represent the Garden of the Hesperides. So this is Greek mythology, and it doesn't have the dragon, does it? It's got a dinosaur in the background. And the golden apple. So this is Greek mythology, and it was interesting because I tried to find out more about it, and I suppose the snake is supposed to be the dragon, but it's supposed to be like 100-headed dragon or something like that. So there's been some artistic liberties taken here to make it seem more like the Garden of Eden or something. There's very little about the Hesperides themselves, and most of the stuff online is about Hercules. I believe it's Hercules. One of his tasks was to kill that many-headed dragon, and I don't know if he was supposed to take the apples, the golden apples. So essentially a violation. You know, what gets the news? A violation of this sacred garden here, which I believe it was sacred to Juno. But this is supposed to be on an island to the west. So to the west of Europe, to the west of the Caribbean, it was supposed to be a sacred island there. And there were 3, so it makes sense that this is the 3 of cups, and 3 of the same gender, so that made a lot of sense. This is Easter Island, or Rapa Nui. So what does it say in the book? It is, yeah, the book is only so helpful, but even documentaries aren't that helpful. So it just says the colossal statues present on this island bear the name of Moai. And it is presumed that I was trying to remember how it's pronounced. It's Moi. All right, I can't do it. And it is presumed that they represent a point of contact between the world of the living and the world of dead ancestors. You know, there's theories about them being guardians. So what I'm finding with a lot of these cards, which I've mentioned in some of the other videos, is that other than it being a really interesting odyssey, an interesting research odyssey, the mythology behind a given card is not super relevant. So for the 4 of Cups, I can see, because they have kind of stoic faces, that it would be appropriate for the 4 of Cups. And it's an island. Again, it's surrounded by water. So there's that aspect, that water aspect there. It's an island. And it's also it's an extremely isolated island. So that kind of fits for the 4 of Cups too. So the 5 of Cups. This is the Taj Mahal. So it says in the guidebook, appropriately, this monument was constructed on the orders of the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. Actually, I think he was the architect as well, or he worked with others as, you know, in cooperation. Upon the death of his beloved wife, Arjumand Banu. And again, there's, for one thing, it is a testament to his great sorrow. Supposedly, she asked him to build, a very beautiful tomb to her, and he obviously took that very seriously. And this was, an expression of his own sorrow and devotion over the course of many years. And this is also famous for the reflecting pool in the water. So I think this is a beautiful and very appropriate card for the Five of Cups. And it wasn't just legend. He supposedly, truly, they had a very deep bond, and he suffered greatly at her loss. And it was a loss during childbirth. So it wasn't like old age, although it was like her 14th child. So she wasn't young anymore. But yeah, it was not an expected death, and uh, it impacted him heavily, I guess, for a couple of years even before he even got started on the tomb. Okay, so the next, number 6. So this was really fun. I knew nothing about this, and it was a really interesting story. It's Les Saintes Marie de la Mer in France. So it's this building here, and it is near the sea, very, very near the sea. And this is a place where gypsies um, congregate annually. I can't remember I think it's in July, some date in June or July, I think. Um, and it's like a big festival for them. And there's a Black Madonna here. Um, so it's supposed to be Saint Sarah. She's an informal saint. Uh, Saint Sarah La Kali. So she has an association with the Hindu goddess Kali. Um, but she is, who did she, at the ocean, so again, the association with water, at the ocean, she met some big biblical figures who were escaping persecution, or they were set in a boat out onto the ocean or in the Caribbean with the expectation that they would perish, and they landed here. And she met them, and you know, you can't really say that she saved them, but she met them on the beach and offered them kindness and care. Is my understanding. Anybody is free to correct me down in the comments. Um, and so it's the Six of Cups, because this is a traditional festival for the gypsies to come here and have a big music festival and um, you know meet each other. And so there's that familial sort of celebration and greetings and stuff that you see in a traditional Six of Cups. And there's drinking, and all of that kind of stuff. And this shows, actually, what they do is they go to the cathedral. Can you see the little figure up on a pedestal? They make her look like she's white here, but it's a figure, it's a statue. Did they make her white? Well, that's stupid. She's a Black Madonna, so much for the artist. So she should be black, not white. And she is black. So big flaw here, because I did see there's like a 20-minute video. So what they do is they go to the cathedral, and they put shawls around her, you know, and touch her face and all of that. And then when she's all adorned, at the chosen hour, there's a procession that goes down to the sea, and this figurine is actually walked into the sea, and other people follow her, you know, and go up to their knees into the ocean, and then they turn around. So she's actually escorted down to the sea. And it is a celebration also of her kindness to the people who washed ashore. So that, to me, that is also appropriate for the Six of Cups. And it was really interesting. I think if I were to have a figure, you know, like a goddess figure, she would be a cool one. She would be a cool one to honor. It was really interesting. Loch Ness for 7. Now, I thought that they should have done. They have the Fountain of Youth for the 9 of Cups. I would have thought that would have been the 7 of Cups would have made more sense. But I get Loch Ness. You know, the idea that you're seeing things that aren't necessarily real, or wishing that you could see them. And Loch Ness can be misty. You know, it can have the mists like you see in the 7 of Cups. So maybe that's part of the reason that they chose it also. So that made sense. I don't feel like I need to read anything from the book or say anything about that. We all know Loch Ness, right? We all know Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Varanasi I covered in another video, and this is a place where Hindus will make a pilgrimage to purify themselves, and it's also a place where funerals, so to speak, occur. People are taken for burning on the shores, on the steps here. What does it say in the book? I feel like I'm not expressing myself very well. No, that's pretty much it, you know, and, you know, it's the Ganges here, and which Ganga is the goddess associated with that river specifically. Every Hindu feels obliged to make a pilgrimage to Varanasi and perform ablutions in the waters of the Ganges at least once in his or her life. And so the pilgrimage aspect is what makes this appropriate. So here's the 9. So if we think of the 9 of Cups as the wish card, well, this was Ponce de Leon with his skull and his conquistador armor and helmet. Wishful thinking. So instead of your wish granted, this becomes a wishful thinking card. You know, he was chasing, you know, the myth, the illusion of the Fountain of Youth. It is said that its waters heal all diseases and restore youth. All right, so that's the myth, and it goes back to at least Greek times. I didn't find anything of significance on the Fountain of Youth, perhaps just because it's a bunch of old guys' fantasies. And it says, especially during the 16th century, many explorers set out to discover the mythical fountain. In particular, Ponce de Leon traveled to Florida thinking that he was going to find it. And this is eventually what happened. So, no such luck. This was really interesting. Researching this. This is the Ten of Cups, and it's the sources of the Nile River. So the Blue Nile, which is in Ethiopia. I don't know if they show, it's at the lakes. There's kind of some lakes there, and I think that's what they're referring to. I watched a video about the first people to run it from probably this source down to the Suez and into, I don't know, is that a Gulf or is that the Caribbean? I don't, my geography is slipping on me as I age. So what does it say here? The Nile is the sacred river of the ancient Egyptians and was personified in the god Hapi. Plants and animals that lived around the mouth of the Nile were consecrated to this divinity. In any case, it's such an awesome amazing odyssey, the length of this river and all of the things that it connects along the way. So it makes sense that it's the Ten of Cups because of it, that it connects so many lands and peoples and crosses borders, and so you had to have the Nile in here somewhere, right? For sacred places. So now we get into the courts, and the courts don't make that much sense. But anyway, as being part of the cups, when the queen does, the king does, kind of, but they could have been elsewhere also. I would have to put all of the, sorry about the glare. I would have had to put all of the courts together to really look and see why these were the ones specifically chosen for the suit of cups. All right, so, well, yeah, I would. This is the Caves of Alchemy. Now, this is there are mythical places, just like the Fountain of Youth. Supposedly somewhere hidden under like a church in the city of Turin, Italy, there are these caves of alchemy that nobody has ever found. They're ultra secret. These underground passages are located in a secret point in Turin, Italy. They were the destination of such figures as Nostradamus, Paracelsus, Cagliostro, and the Count of Saint Germain. So there was supposed to be, like, here they're showing an alchemist. So they're turning it into a cups card by imagining that they're mixing fluids down there or something. But my understanding was it was some kind of magical portal or something down in these caves. I think there were supposed to be 3 caves. And there were some magical portal that you would enter. And maybe I'll have to see as I go on if all of the pages are kind of a fantasy. Maybe it's appropriate that a page, particularly a page of cups, would be like a fantasy. All right, so this is Sarnath. Also known as the Deer Park. It is situated near Varanasi in India, a sacred destination for Buddhists. It was here that young Siddhartha gave his first sermon. And it's called the Deer Park. I can't remember, there's some tale about a deer saving him or something. but it's not just that they're inhabited by deer. There's also a myth associated with deer. And just to make it a cups card, Siddhartha is holding a cup. I thought the tree that he reached enlightenment under was also in this park, but I could very well be wrong because I think his tree is somewhere else in this. All right, so this is, let's look at this. It's really hard to see in here, but this is a statue. And do you see that she's holding a cup where there's Regis, R-E-G-I-S up there? It's blocking out between the E and the G. Regis, Adventum Regis. So this is the Queen of Cups, and this is the only cups aspect that I get. This is not near water. It has no association with water. It's not a particularly famous church. I mean, if you're in Turin, Italy, then you will you might want to go visit it, but it's probably not going to be super high on your list. But she's holding a cup, and the actual statue is holding a cup. So I assume that's why she's the Queen of Cups. This is the Great Mother of God Church in Turin, Italy. According to tradition, the statue representing faith, and that's appropriate for the Queen of Cups, because originally the cup suit was about spirituality, and so she is and her cup is closed, which means her cup is not open, which means that she, she's not available. She is devoted to her faith. And so I think that that's appropriate in that regard. So there's a statue of faith, and then there's another statue that's religion, and this is the statue of faith. It is gazing towards the site where the Holy Grail is still hidden. Sure. I didn't hear anything about that, but that's what it says in the guidebook. So the last in the suit of cups is St. Patrick, and in the background is Crow Patrick, or also known, that mountain in the background is also known as the Reek. This is the sacred mountain of the Irish. Here the ancient Celts celebrated their fertility rites. Well, I didn't find that. They did say that at the top, some archaeologists did find some really ancient sites, so people had been gathering up there for eons. And St. Patrick made his own pilgrimage up to the top and supposedly spent 40 days fasting on the mountain. So I think it's appropriate for the King of Cups that there should be like a sacrifice. To me, that's a purification and a sacrifice going on there. So that, I think that's a really great one. Also, when you're at the top, obviously not looking in this direction, but looking the other direction, you're looking out over the ocean and a series of islands. So, if you think of a king as having a long view of things, that also is very appropriate for the King of Cups. Okay. And I think I'm going to call it done there. I guess I had the words for this written down: penance and suffering. And supposedly when people go up there now, some people climb this, it's very rocky, and they walk up it barefoot. And so there's, again, an aspect of penance, suffering, sacrifice, purification, all of that stuff going on there. And I think that's it for the suit of cups. So it makes me hopeful if I can get through um, each of the suits within 30 minutes or within the course of a week in terms of the research required, that would be lovely. I'm not sure it's going to work for the Earth suit. Yeah, I think there's going to be more research in regards to the Earth suit than I had to do for this, but we'll see. All right, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.